Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center and I'm here with Ray with his movie Newborn. Let's take a look at the clip.
I don't want to get into it right now, but I think we should hold off on the name.
We already told your family and your dad. Why are you bringing this up right now?
I just have a few other names in mind, that's all.
Ray, thank you so much for being here and thank you for coming from Toronto to be here with us.
Thank you.
For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
It is a Middle Eastern couple who struggle to decide the name of their child at the very last minute, whether or not to name their newborn baby a Middle Eastern name or an English name, and they kind of question their identity in the process.
It's a really powerful story. I mean, it was really hard to watch at the same time because you got these two, loving couple. People had their newborn, and it was just really difficult to watch because you kind of almost think to me, you can't help resonate and think, this is happening. This is an example of probably many people that may have gone through something sadly to feel this way. Where did the inspiration come in creating this particular story?
I'm mainly an editor. That's like my background. So this is like the first thing I wrote and directed, and so I wanted to make something that was good. But when you're writing and it's very much your first thing, I started to write from something very personal. So I just started to write down like my feelings of like things I was self-conscious about growing up. And what I stumbled upon is how my full name is Savaya. And people's reactions growing up when they would hear my full name, I felt like I was treated differently. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, I was cool 2 minutes ago when I was Ray, but as soon as you found out I'm Middle Eastern and then my full name is Ramiz, I just kind of felt a different vibe. Yeah. So I tried to capture that self-conscious feeling and then try to make it into a short film, and that's sort of how it came about.
And Ramiz is a great name,
there
so
I
love it. I know. I think that's. I mean, it's really always very wonderful when you share something that has got personal elements of yourself. And thank you for that. What I love through your film and through the great, talented actors that you had as well in the film, was just that sadly, is this a story that really exists and people go through this, and what did you kind of want to sort of make an example of that, of what maybe what people may go through, or how people don't realize what one will go through?
I just kind of wanted to show. I just wanted to keep it as just as a fact right then and there, and just have people take it in, and then they can discuss it afterwards and see how it goes. So that's kind of how I went about it. And I kind of wanted to keep it a back and forth between the two characters, and I kind of left it a little open at the end so that it sort of like doesn't really, almost like the name doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's kind of like what they were going through and what it's that the character of Samir's self-conscious feelings. Yeah. So that's kind of how I just wanted to present it to people of like how much it means to someone and how much it affects someone.
Yeah, and I love their dialogue between each other. It was so powerful, and and just the way that obviously they love each other and they wanted to keep tradition as well, which I thought was just powerful and nice to keep that tradition in your family and how important that was to them. Your characters, your actors, they were fantastic. How was the casting process for you?
Yeah. This is a very hard film to cast because it's all about that feeling of sort of uneasiness, because it's always like, how do you bring that up to someone who just gave birth to a newborn? You know? And it's like always kind of like you kind of want to get your point across, but you kind of are sensitive about the situation. Yeah. So that was so important to me, of like, it's such a specific feeling of like and even in the film, of them to talking, and they don't want to wake up the baby either.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that
Yeah.
like constant like whispering of like you kind of want to get your point across. So we just went through a casting process though to find 2 actors that could really do that, and we had a casting director on board, and in Canada we have ACTRA. I think
ACTRA, ACTRA.
So in the States, I believe it's called AFTRA.
SAG-AFTRA,
SAG-AFTRA. So it was my first time really working with ACTRA, and
fantastic.
so
Union
we
project.
got it. Yeah, exactly. So we made it a union project, and we worked with the casting director, and then the other aspect too that kind of opened my eyes, just as a Middle Eastern person, is I'm talking to these Middle Eastern actors, and and seeing the struggles and of what they were telling me their stories, you know, of like whether or not to change their name for acting, you know, and how people perceive someone. So a lot of the Middle Eastern people are amazing actors, and it's like, well, I get a cab driver and I get a terrorist and I get those are the roles I get, you know, and it's like I got to take what's there and that type of thing, and that kind of like opened my eyes of kind of like, oh wow, there's a legitimate problem, you know. But
there is.
Nevertheless, we did find Sammy Osman and Dalal Bader, and I thought they were both phenomenal, and they both played off each other really well, and. Dalal even, she, during rehearsals of the whole thing, I kind of, because a lot of it was my perspective, so almost like Samir is almost like a channeling within myself, so I really wanted to work with Dalal and talk to her about her character and see how we can develop that, and something that she came up with, that's a line in there that wasn't in the original script, was the character of Linda telling Samir, she goes, "I call you Samir." And
I love that line.
And that was something that she came up with, and that I thought really brought depth to the story, another layer to it.
Yeah.
And her saying that, so I had an amazing experience working with both of them.
Yeah.
And we also got a baby as well.
You got a baby. I know, and that was like, she looked like a brand. I mean, that's how difficult is that? You know, having a sort of characters. This is a newborn baby. How do you work with that as a director?
So we're getting closer and closer to the shoot date. And we don't have a newborn baby, and we asked ACTRA, and they sort of gave us someone who's like 1 year old or like 8 months old, and it's like, well, it's not really a newborn. So
ACTRA, you ask ACTRA for a new, wow.
But they didn't provide a baby, so that was the thing. It was a bit too old every time, and it's so tough because it's like, you can't have a 1 year old, and I started looking up like how Hollywood films and bigger films do it, and it's a legit problem where it's like. Everyone has older looking babies, and there was a Clint Eastwood film where they just used a doll, which is like really bad, you know. But that was like a huge film. And so we have 2 weeks before shoot date. We don't have a baby, and my friend posted his newborn cousin was born that 2 weeks before the shoot date. So I saw that on social media. So I just called my friend and I said, "Hey, I have a shoot in 2 weeks.
That is unbelievable.
You need to get me that baby."
Wow.
So he goes, "Well, as long as you pitch it to my cousin and blah, blah." And it was, so that baby, so I pitched it to them and I told them the situation and they agreed. And it's a professional unionized set, so we had a nurse on set. We had to have a separate room, and we had to follow all the rules and all that. So the baby was 2 weeks old when we shot the film.
So that baby's done a union project. He's been seen at the Oscars before he even can talk. I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's incredible.
And I actually found out that you're actually not allowed to shoot a human being on film less than 2 weeks old. So that is the newest baby you can see on film. So there you go.
Wow.
So we lucked out.
And he's already at the Oscars. I mean, doing well.
Go.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal. What I love, I mean, it must have been really amazing to sort of work, particularly with your lead male Samir character, because you've obviously got a personal experience there and you're sharing. And you're directing, like, how do you direct that? Or do you kind of let them free to their devices? How was that for you?
Well, the writing process was very hard because it was my own self-conscious feelings of what I went through and getting it out in the script. But as soon as we got the script like finalized, I kind of just trusted the actors from there, and I just let them, if they wanted to add something or whatever it is, I, didn't like oppose to it as long as it made sense in the context. So, but we didn't improvise too much. It was all mainly pretty much there in the script.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in editing, we changed a little in editing.
A little bit as well, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the process of film. You know, so
it was just so their relationship was just so real and so believable and you really felt it, you know. And I think that was so powerful that you did. I mean, honestly, it must be amazing to, you know, create your film, make your film, put it out there, and it's obviously something personal to you. What was it like, you know, coming to Toronto and having it here at the home of the Academy Awards of NewFilmmakers LA, and particularly a greatness, one thing we pride about as an in-focus on global film. So was it wonderful to have a sort of Middle Eastern film program at the Oscars, and what was that feeling like having your film at the home of the Oscars last night?
That was probably the best presentation of the film I've ever seen. So it was incredible just to see it on such a big, massive screen like that. And yeah, like we've had other screenings, but that theater is just absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
and the whole program, I loved all the films, you know, and I thought it was a really great program, and just being part of it, I considered it a huge honor, and I hope to be back one day.
You will be, so you will be, definitely you will be, and it was well deserved. And I was in the audience last night, and the reaction of people with your film was so powerful, and I just know people really felt it and went away feeling it as well. And I think that's something great credit to you and your team. What is next for you?
So Newborn actually ended up winning a grand prize in Canada, where we actually got funding for another project.
Yep.
So I'm just going to start working on that project and see how it goes. And
Fantastic.
I'm kind of figuring that out right now of what the next steps are in my filmmaking career. But yeah, one step at a time.
That's amazing, and that's great credit to you, and well deserved that you won that prize. It's wonderful when you've got the power to go and make your next film from something that you've just won a prize for, and I think that's really fantastic. Well, we love your work anyway. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for showing Newborn, and we're looking forward to seeing much more of your work, so thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Cool.
Great job, man.